Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bill of Rights Institute webinar. We are so excited that you are here looking at the intersection of history, civics, government, and economics with our dear friends from the Hoover Institution. So my name is Rachel Davison-Humphreys. I'm Director of Outreach at the Bill of Rights Institute. And it is my absolute pleasure. I am so excited to invite Chris Dower from the Hoover Institution into this webinar with us. Chris is the Senior Associate Director of External Relations at Hoover. He oversees the institution's fundraising and strategic communications operations, including, relevant for our conversation today, its digital content, video offerings, and the Hoover Institution Press, and Hoover's Educating Americans in Public Policy initiative, policyed.org, which was the inspiration for this collaboration. Before coming to Hoover, Chris spent more than 20 years in medical technology and a whole range of roles, but he also graduated magna cum laude in economics and history from Brown and received his MBA from Stanford. He has a wife and 2 children and lives in California near the beautiful campus, which we got to come visit. So Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. It's a real honor to be with you. We've had a terrific working relationship with the Bill of Rights Institute, and we look forward to continuing it as we enter the most fun phase here.
This is the most fun phase. So earlier this month, as many of you know, we launched our new resource, Exploring Prosperity, with the Hoover Institution. And so let's just start with so the Hoover, Chris, you all had developed this resource and germinated the idea before we ever got involved. So can you tell me a little bit about why were you thinking about prosperity? What did you see as the need?
Yeah, oh, great. Thank you, Rachel. It's a great question. So the Hoover Institution is based at Stanford University. Our fellows are Stanford-based educators, obviously primarily in higher ed, and we're 100 years old. We started as a library and archives collecting material from the 20th century, from economics, politics, and what have you. Our full name is actually the Hoover Institution on War, Revolution, and Peace. And so it was originally staffed by historians reviewing historical documents, a lot of them from World War I, the Russian Revolution, the origins of World War II, and what have you, attempting to learn from the past and apply those lessons to current situations and current policy predicaments. So it's just a library and archives until about 50 years ago when they added a second pillar, and that was specifically to look at public policy and research, to, again, more formally apply those lessons of history to contemporary policy issues. You know, the old adage that those who don't learn from the past are doomed to repeat it. And maybe there are things that we can learn from the past that will enable us to have a better future. And that, a better future is more prosperous if you think about it. And so the Hoover Institution is a collection of economists and political scientists and historians who look at that intersection between government and economics, and look at there are those institutions that are economic institutions, governing institutions that are intended to promote and increase prosperity and empower people to maximize their potential and to really deliver a dynamic society filled with opportunities for everybody. And so that's what we try to advance at Hoover. And some of those institutions that are really important that contribute to a prosperous society are things that we can and our students potentially could take for granted, but that are kind of unique in a lot of ways to the American experience. And there are things like the rule of law and property rights and economic freedom and trade. And so all those institutions contribute to prosperity and create incentives for individuals to work and save and invest. And together, those institutions kind of reinforce each other. And so it became clear that we wanted to, as educators at Stanford, we wanted to try to expand the reach of our education into the K-12 classroom, and take some of these concepts and try to contextualize them for modern kids, so that they weren't just these abstract principles from the late 18th century, that they actually matter today and in improving people's lives. And so that's how we came to find you.
That is that is such a beautiful journey. And I think that's a journey a lot of, especially the most respected educational institutions are on, right? They have all these documents, and then how do you make it relevant? And how do you keep people engaged with these ideas through time and changing culture, right? And so that's kind of the journey that it sounds like the Hoover Institution has been on as you designed this policy ed project. So I put the link, and everyone, there is a chat and there is a Q&A. So please, if you have questions as we're going through, add them to the chat or to the Q&A. We have staff here monitoring them. I'm monitoring them. So please let us know what you're thinking, or if you have any questions as we go throughout. Chris and I will do our best to answer them. But so you started this policy ed project. Can you tell me a little bit about policy ed and what its work is?
Yeah, so policy ed broadly, and this building blocks is one of the programs within it. But essentially, what the genesis was that we were trying to figure out how we expand our policy outreach, the information that and the research and the scholarship that our fellows generate. We wanted to reach a broader audience than just the policymaking audience. Our fellows were very focused on policy makers in the federal apparatus, so in the legislative branch, the executive branch, getting them our policy ideas, and a bit in the elite media to reach policy influencers, those who sort of help shape policy. But we didn't have a lot of programs that were oriented toward the grassroots, because if you think about how policy is made, yes, you've got the policy makers at the top of the pyramid, but at the bottom are the people whose preferences for policy sort of percolate up into that policy making via elections when they vote for their representative and what they're going to promise them that they'll do. And in polling, obviously politicians are extremely sensitive to polling, and people express their policy preferences in polling. And so we wanted to try to figure out a way to bring our research and expand the reach of our fellows' work to the grassroots. And so we started taking our research and making short videos out of them that we said that the watchword was we wanted to make the videos accessible. And we meant accessible in every sense of the word. We meant accessible in that normal people who don't spend 24 hours a day thinking about policy could appreciate them, but also accessible that people could find them where they were. And so we quickly learned that if we could create videos and put them out over Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and now TikTok, we're looking at that people could start to see the work of our fellows, and learn about how these policies could improve their lives. And so the idea was really to generate these short videos that were accessible and could reach what we call normal people.
Normal people like high school teachers and high school students, right?
Exactly.
And so where we came in and kind of the genesis of our collaboration is you had all these amazing videos, and you were looking to understand how high school educators could use them. And so we came together, months ago now, back in January, for a conference where we collaborated and really helped design what this might look like. And that came to our newest resource, which is the Building Blocks of Prosperity, which is what we're here to talk about today. So the way our conversation is going to go for all of you attending is we're going to talk about prosperity kind of generally, and why is it important to talk about that when teaching history or economics or civics. And then we'll take a look at the resource together. We'll go through the website and take a look at it. And then towards the end of the conversation, we're going to talk about what we can do to better support prosperity through all of these different institutions that we're in touch with. And as I said, throughout everything we're doing, there's Q&A and there are questions. If you have questions right now already, just asking yourself about prosperity and economics and teaching history and economics right now, what are the questions you're struggling with? What are the things that you're already doing? We would love to hear from you. So put it in the chat, put it in the Q&A, and we'll definitely comment and get to those. So Chris, just that idea of prosperity, right? So it's in some ways a very American institutional idea. It's from our founding period, and there are it's rooted in a lot of American historical documents, this idea that prosperity is a goal, is an end of itself. So what is the position, or how did the Hoover Institution come to this idea that talking about prosperity was something that was necessary in today's culture?
Well, I think it's because prosperity is really, in our view, or it's kind of the ultimate goal is make as many people prosperous as possible, and it's a very, very broad definition of prosperity. I mean, I think people can become fixated on kind of the material aspects of it, and wealth and money and things like that. But we wanted to have an expansive definition because one of in our mission statement that Herbert Hoover actually crafted when he founded the place 100 years ago, long before he was president, was that we want to improve the human condition, and prosperity seems to be a measurement of how that human condition is improving, if you include the non-material elements of it. I would include things like good health and a clean environment and security and the promise of future opportunities and freedom of choice, and a lot of these things that contribute to sort of general well-being that are above and beyond kind of the material. You know, how big is your house? How much money do you have in your bank account? And so it seemed like a lot of these institutions that we have in place are structured to try to create those opportunities for people. And so that's how we sort of fastened on that kind of view of prosperity. And it incorporates, I think it is a chance to incorporate both economics and government and civics, all rolled into nicely integrated, all rolled into one.
Right, which is the topic of our webinar today, teaching at the corner of government, civics, and history, because prosperity really is that kind of root cause or root goal that all of those fields point to and all of those studies point to. And as we were working through this, we were very cognizant of the fact that you have educators who could approach these topics from each of those fields, whether you're a government teacher, an economics teacher, a personal finance teacher, a civics teacher. All of those fields touch on issues related to prosperity and how we live in a more and more prosperous society. Defining prosperity can be really personal, right, as you were mentioning, but then there are measures that are commonly accepted in the different fields around prosperity. So exposing students to that kind of inquiry, and even definitional work, like a way to start is, what is the goal of the study of history? What is the goal of the study of economics? What is the goal of the study of civics? And putting the term prosperity into those conversations can really help refine the conversations that's happening in the classroom. And I think that's where, again, our collaboration on this project was really fruitful, is that this gives teachers the opportunity to have that kind of more philosophical, principle-rooted conversation, as opposed to looking at just the measures of prosperity, like GDP or health or, mortality rates.
Absolutely. And I think, and again, everything has become so partisan and politicized in today's world, but I do think that most people across the political spectrum agree that prosperity, however they define it, and that's an interesting point, is it can be defined a lot of different ways, but that it's an appropriate goal in and of itself.
Absolutely. So let's get into the resource. I'm going to take a few minutes to walk everyone. And again, as we're walking through this, if you have any questions, or Chris, jump in on any of my descriptions as I'm going through. And we're going to take a few minutes to walk everyone through the resource so you can kind of see what it's like and where it is and how you can get to it on the Bill of Rights Institute website. So actually, if you go to our website right now, if you haven't been in a little while, we have a brand new website as of a couple of years ago, and it's very clean and fresh and everything's there for you. But right now, because we're so excited about the work that we've done, our Building Blocks of Prosperity is right on the homepage. So if you go to the homepage and you just press check it out now, that'll take you to our curricular page. And on our curricular page, we have a quick video kind of overviewing the resource. We'll watch that for just a moment. And then you'll see the 6 lessons and we'll walk through those. So first and foremost, I want to share that video. Start it over. There we go. Awesome. So that gives you a little bit overview of kind of what's included in the resource, but I'm going to walk you through it now. So there's 6 lessons. Understanding prosperity through scarcity, choices, and consequences. And within each lesson, if you click on the materials, you'll see the videos that are associated that the Hoover Institution has provided for us. So there's a prosperity video with the prosperity viewing guide, and all of these are linked on YouTube. And so each video is only a minute or so.
Last year,
only a minute or so long. Or a couple of minutes long, not a minute, it's a couple of minutes long, and they'll be able to watch it in class together or assign to your students before the class begins. So all of the resources are designed to be modular and used in your classroom as you see fit. So you'll see that our first lesson on understanding prosperity through choices, through scarcity, choices, and consequence. The guiding question is, how do prosperous societies differ from unprosperous societies in addressing the issues of scarcity? And why are individual liberty and limited government important for expanding prosperity? And the students then have objectives. We have all of our materials for both the students and the teachers laid out for you. We have a key terms list. We have it laid out as pre-work and warm-ups and extension activities. And then down at the bottom, if you want to just download the resources for your students, when you download them, they download as fillable PDFs. So when we're looking at even just the glossary, it is a fillable PDF asking students to define it in their own words, draw an image that represents it. Or if you look at the, that's the glossary again. If you look at the background readings, you'll notice that the background readings are very cleanly designed for your students to be able to take notes. The imagery is available for you to cut and paste and use as you see fit, but there's also concluding analysis in all of the resources that we've put together. So your students really can take all the stages of learning, from the introduction, the exploration, and the demonstration of mastery of the knowledge in the resource, ready for you. So we're so excited that Hoover provided these lessons or these videos to us, because what we were able to do is then take those lessons and package that, or take those videos and package them into lessons that you could use in any classroom, whether it's civics, economics, or government, and think about the kind of philosophical foundations, the principled foundations of the nature of prosperity, economic progress, and what it means to live, what does it mean to prosper individually versus living in a prosperous society? So what we've heard from educators often is that the most important conversations that they have is those deep and meaningful kind of philosophical conversations. And what our work with building blocks of prosperity allows you to do is allows you to take it from, again, that kind of just standard analysis and ask deeper, richer questions in dialogue with your students. And that's what the Hoover Institution's policy ed videos have done, but also what we've supported in the design of the resource. So I'm going to pause there for just a moment. Does anyone have any questions? The first is this program for high school only, or can it be used with middle school? The answer is it can absolutely be used with middle schoolers. There is the way that the lessons are structured. You may not, some of the background reading might not be appropriate for the middle school reader. You might want to scale it down a little bit. I taught middle school for almost 10 years, and I absolutely think the videos are very appropriate for everybody. I'd say 7 to 12, 7th to 12th grade is really the age that can approach these videos easily. It could go down further into 6th grade. It would just need a lot more scaffolding and support from you. Chris, did you want to say anything on that question?
No, I think I think it was sort of upper middle school through high school is what we were thinking. What we tried to do with these, the videos are almost like little parables about the specific concepts, say rule of law or trade, where we wanted to create a narrative with relatable characters that the students would appreciate and identify with, who were sort of thinking about the kinds of issues that they were thinking about, but within the context of some of these institutional principles.
Well, let's watch the rule of law one then, Chris, if that was the one you just mentioned. We can watch it together. So I'm going to open that up. You should be able to hear it.
Throughout human history, poverty has been the reality for most people. But things have changed for the better over the past 200 years. Far fewer people are living in poverty nowadays, and prosperity and progress are way more widespread in many countries. Many countries, but not all countries. Too many people across the world still don't have the same opportunities we take for granted. While some countries have thrived in the past few centuries, others were left behind, sometimes far behind, in terms of prosperity. So, what makes a country prosperous? Natural resources? Not necessarily. There are regions with massive oil reserves or expansive farmland that are still poor. Tourism? Photo-ready landscapes and rich culture might attract visitors to a country, but that doesn't always lead to prosperity for citizens either. What about a high literacy rate? A population that can read and write definitely doesn't hurt, but some places have educated citizens and still don't give them opportunities to put their knowledge to use. Congrats on completing your degree. Now get to work. There is one defining feature of nations that have prospered: the rule of law. Basically, it's the idea that laws apply to everyone, that regulations should be predictable and enforced equally. They shouldn't be easily changed when whoever's in charge has a mood swing. Justice, fairness, all that good stuff. But what does it have to do with making people more prosperous? Imagine the goals you have for your future. If the future feels a little far off right now, that's okay. Let's say you want to invent a new piece of technology, buy a home, and travel the world. You know you'll have to work hard and make a plan to achieve those goals. You can't make plans without making some assumptions. When you invent something, you assume you can do the necessary paperwork to call dibs on it, own it, and help you earn a living. What if that wasn't a safe assumption? How would it feel to create something you're proud of and then be told it isn't yours anymore? Without the rule of law, the government could decide that your invention belongs to someone else without any warning. Knowing that, would you even invest your time and resources to invent it in the first place? Would you buy a home if it could be taken away from you at any time? What good are travel plans if the requirements to get a passport are constantly changing? The future is already filled with unknowns, but in countries that don't have the rule of law, nothing is ever really certain. Your future depends on the whims and choices of those who happen to be in power. These countries might have plenty of natural resources. They might even have educated populations. But without the rule of law, their people are less likely to set goals and invest in their future. Now, let's be real. That's not to say countries with the rule of law have perfect governments. Not every law is just, and rules aren't always applied fairly to everyone, even if they are supposed to be. But countries with the rule of law set their people up to confidently plan for the future, take risks, and pursue ambitious goals. Our future prosperity depends on our government committing itself to more faithfully follow the rule of law. Whatever your dreams are, you deserve every opportunity to make them happen.
So as you can see, each of the videos are really beautifully designed. They tell a beautiful story that's motivating and interesting to young people, which is why we were so excited to be able to share this with the greater Bill of Rights Institute community, because that's, our mission, as we just recrafted our mission statement, our mission is to teach civics. And we know that narrative and storytelling and compelling images are some of the best ways to engage the imagination of young people as they think about their role in society. And so that's what the Policy Ed resources allow us to do, is they give us that kind of opportunity to draw the student into conversation with these ideas. So if anybody has any questions or comments, the chat's open. We would love to hear your thoughts on what you're seeing as you're poking around the website. But Chris, so the essential features that we've gone through in this resource are the videos are these beautiful, compelling videos. And then we have wraparound opportunities to engage with them through these lessons. Somebody in the chat asked, is there a set sequence? And I would say not necessarily. There are some ideas that do build on each other. So if you're thinking about a sequence, you would probably start with the ones that focus on prosperity, so you can do that definitional work. But then whether you go to scarcity and choice or rule of law, it would depend on your own lesson needs. Did you have any other thoughts there, Chris?
Yeah, I think what we came to you with, I think 14 videos, but you grouped into the 6 lessons, and I think the grouping was very thoughtful on your part. I don't know that the sequencing of the 6 is important, but the groupings within the 6, I think, make a lot of sense and added a terrific and logical structure to it that we didn't have when we started.
Well, we were so happy to be able to work with these great ideas. I mean, you can't build a strong foundation without good bricks, right? And these were so meaningful and thoughtful and well produced that it was an easy task to do that. So as you were going through these lessons, again, understanding the role of constitutional government in promoting economic prosperity, all of the questions are going to be here for you, all of the objectives. And then within the materials, you have classroom ready resources. The only thing that you would need to possibly do is everything is free for you at the Bill of Rights Institute. So BRI is donor supported, as is the Hoover Institution, and everything that the Bill of Rights Institute provides is everything the Bill of Rights Institute provides is free for educators. So if you're coming to us and you don't know very much about us, I encourage you to explore our website. Everything we do is free for educators. So all of the resources here are free for you to use. They're all hosted on YouTube as videos, but you can also go to policyed.org to find them. So you can find them on the Bill of Rights Institute, the videos, or you can find them on the Policy Ed website. But the lessons are only linked on the Bill of Rights Institute website. Is that right, Chris?
Yes. That's
okay.
Correct.
So you can find the videos wherever you'd like and link to them however you'd like. They all go to the same place, but the lessons are only on the Bill of Rights Institute website. And if you look at the student handouts, it lays out which videos you would like to include in your lesson. And then it has viewing guides for each of those videos. So we know that sometimes when you're doing a classroom activity, you need something to demonstrate the purpose and use of that video. So we have viewing guides, we have discussion guides for you with each of these videos that helps you categorize the video both for your students and for yourself and kind of fit it into where you would want to in your curriculum. But also it lets you, if you wanted to do a kind of flipped model, it lets you check the understanding that the students have of each of the videos. Then we, in the materials, we have all of our activities that you can do with the students to kind of digest and think through the ideas presented. The only thing you would need to sign into our website for is the student handout answer key. If you want to make an account on the Bill of Rights Institute website, you just click here, sign in or create account. You can do single sign-on, you can add yourself however you'd like, and that will unlock the student handout answer key. Otherwise, it will say this resource is restricted to educators with an active account. We don't have strong restrictions on the sign-in page, but we also just don't want students coming to the page and clicking the answer key. So that is the only kind of barrier we make on our resources. We have facilitation notes for you. Like I said, warm-ups, things that could be required. We have we expect that each of these lessons would fill about a 60-minute lesson or 60-minute period. So if you have block scheduling, you could get through 2. If you only have 42-minute periods, you might not get through all of it, and you might want to assign some of the activities to students to do at home before they come into the classroom. But that really are the essential features of our resource building blocks of prosperity. Does anyone have any questions that you want us to address about the resource or about what you're seeing?
I would just add here really quickly that we really intended the videos to be a point of departure for these richer discussions and making use of all the educational support material here. It's just the video is a way to launch into the deeper discussion with your students. That's our intention and hope.
Yeah, and I think it's successful. Those videos are so beautiful, and they're so clear. They so clearly create that kind of moral question about what is the role of government? What is the role of the self? And those are the 2 fundamental questions that young people should be asking themselves as they grow in their education and grow in maturity. So I did want to talk a little bit about, just as we're kind of wrapping up, this idea that prosperity helps us frame our work and our study. So we talked at the top of this conversation, not everybody was able to be here for the whole thing. We talked at the top of this conversation about how prosperity gives a lens by which to better understand or question the outcomes that you're seeing in history, civics, and government study. But Chris, I was wondering if you had any thoughts on, again, why are we talking about prosperity in these disciplines?
I think our sense of it is that it kind of unifies. It unifies sort of the government elements and the economic elements and the civic elements, and it's sort of kind of a common goal that everybody can appreciate. So it's kind of it's in my sense, it's kind of a unifying sort of goal that way, and that these institutions, economic ones and governance ones, reinforce each other, and sometimes they don't reinforce each other, and that's actually an interesting point of departure. Is where are some of these things in conflict, and how do they come a cropper and potentially don't necessarily contribute to prosperity? I think that's an interesting topic to discuss. We just wanted this to be really wide ranging, and it felt to us like at some level everybody agrees that prosperity, however it's defined by the individual, is just a goal that we can all align to.
And a good, like we said, a really inspiring kind of idea for students to jump off of and to chew on, right? How often are they asked, what does prosperity mean to you? How is your life going to lead to your own personal prosperity and the prosperity of your communities? What is your role in that prosperity, both personal and community? And this resource allows them to start having those conversations in the context of their other fields of study. And I think that is one of the aspects that makes it so powerful and so important. And we're getting a lot of great feedback from the teachers in the comments about how they think it looks fantastic, and that it looks really student friendly, and that's really exciting. And again, bringing that kind of inspiration to the economic discussions and the kind of econ lens to some of the history discussions does that transference that we always want the students to have, where what they're thinking about in one class is applied in another and then applied in their own lives. And that's where the real learning happens. We do have a couple of questions. Dana has asked if we've used this with students, and do we have a sense of how it was received? So we did pilot test with some students. We do that as part of our process, and we ask some of our master educators. So the Bill of Rights Institute has over 60,000 educators in our network, and we do always, before we publish resources, put them in front of students. So we did get a little bit of feedback at different stages, but we would love to hear your feedback.
Yes.
As soon as you use any of this, let us know how it goes. You can find, I'll put my email in the chat, and Chris, if you want to do that, you can too. We would love to hear if your students are using this video, or if you do a project that engages these videos and you want to tweet us about it or send it to us, we would love to see how your students are responding to these ideas, these powerful images, and these lessons. So just to clarify for Marlene, no, your students don't need a lesson, don't need an account. You need an account to see the answer sheet, the answer key. All of our resources are fillable PDFs. So if you want to upload them into your Google School, your Google Drive, your Dropbox, whatever you'd like, you are more than welcome to upload them, so long as you just link back to us as the source. You can use them however you'd like in whatever LMS you need to in your school community. Is there any other questions that have come up? Feel free to drop it in the chat or the Q&A.
Q&A, yep.
Well, we are available for you. The Bill of Rights Institute works with educators across the country every day. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, not TikTok yet. We are also thinking about it. I think everybody is, because it's so big there.
That's where the kids are.
That's where the kids are. And so teacher talk is a thing and history talk is a thing. But I really, truly want to thank Chris and his team for creating these resources. They really do have such power, and we are so grateful to be able to leverage them and use them and share them with our community of educators. They add so much value to the principles that BRI has in our resources. And I wanted to thank you so much for the partnership and collaboration that we've had.
Well, thank you, Rachel. It's been these videos were a labor of love for us, and that we really hadn't focused on this younger student audience before, and so we took some painstaking steps to make sure we got it right. With those videos, every step of the way, we tested not only the narratives, to the narrators, to the characters, to the colors, to the look and feel of everyone. We wanted to make it, as I said, accessible and approachable and friendly, because we were trying to essentially convey these timeless ideas, but do them in a way that would resonate with a modern contemporary audience, because you can't just keep using the same language that worked 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And so that was really the goal, was to make these concepts come to life for people. And it's been wonderful working with BRI, because they have just taken it the next step with us and have turned it into something that hopefully you will find really helpful in the classroom, and you'll put these to use. And we're very eager for your feedback. I put my email in the chat, and would welcome any and all feedback. And so thank you.
Yes, thank you. And as we said, the Bill of Rights Institute teaches civics. We know that civic education is one of the hardest jobs in America right now, and we're here to support you. So please let us know if there's anything more we can do. I will put my email in the chat right now, and you can reach out to me. Chris has already put his email in the chat. You can reach out to us through any of our channels as well. And again, if you use this resource, if you show these videos to your kids and you get a response that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear it. Chris, thank you so much for taking time out of your afternoon on a Thursday. And thank you to all the incredible educators across the country. We had teachers from everywhere, from Massachusetts to Sacramento. So we got them all. Thank you for taking your time all the way down to Arkansas and up to Wisconsin. We got everywhere. That's all of them. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing in the classroom. And again, if there's any way more we can support you, we want to know about it. So reach out. We look forward to hearing from you. And thank you again to Chris and his team for this amazing resource.
Thank you, Rachel.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks.